Happy Friday, everybody. We're going to give this just a couple seconds to let everybody come on in. I'm seeing some familiar faces already. We've got Neil. How you doing, Neil Schaus? We've got Stephen Asman. How you doing, buddy? Donna, I think I've seen you here before. Donna? Yes, I have to believe so. Okay, of course. Mark, how's it going, Mark? Mr. Barris. Hi, Sheila. How you doing? Wendy. Oh, we got so many good faces here that I haven't seen in ages. All right, so let's see, just really quickly. Okay, so hi, welcome to the Local Marketing Institute Live with your host, Ben Fisher, and my amazing co-host, Amy Toman. You all remember Amy. Amy has been with us multiple times before. Greg is unfortunately on a plane at the moment. Yes, he and I have been both traveling a little bit this year, which is kind of why we haven't been here in about a month and a half. But so sorry about that. Hopefully today we will be able to get all of the questions and answered for you that you have. Speaking of, we've got around a good maybe 5-10 questions in the hopper, actually. But we would love for you all to go ahead and ask any kind of questions that you have in the Q&A section of Zoom, please. And we want to shoot for maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 questions. So if you got any burning questions, or if you would like your Google Business Profile or your competitor's Google Business Profile roasted, we will absolutely do that. That's fun. So we'll do an audit, whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Let's have fun today. Happy Friday. We've made it through the week. Amy, how are you doing?
I am doing well. I am doing very well, Ben. Things are a little gray where I am along the Jersey Shore, but generally pretty good today. What about you?
I can't complain. It's like 90 degrees here.
90.
We're having an early summer, actually, is what we're having. It's really, you stay inside.
We're lucky if it hits 60 where I am right now. So enjoy it while it lasts in your
Oh
case.
my goodness. Wow. Yes. And so everybody, again, sorry for not being here for a couple of weeks, but you know what? I was just up in Alaska seeing the Northern Lights and traveling to a little town called Talkeetna, which has like 10,000 people living in it or something like that. The mayor is a cat. Yes, and is fighting a dog for being the mayor again for next year. Anyway, but yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and here we are. We're back. So thank you for coming and joining us at the Local Marketing Institute Live. So we're going to switch up our format a little bit today. And basically, I'm going to go ahead and just ask the questions and whatever we want, either Amy or I will answer it. Again, we would love to answer your questions, and we see that we're getting some stuff going in the Q&A already. So keep it going in the Q&A. Add questions, add things that you would like to be roasted or audited, and then we will try and get to those today. All right. So with that, might as well just get started. We're not going to do news or anything today. We're going to keep this as like a silly, awesome, fun, open format. All right. Now, with that being said, all right, Amy. The first thing I want to talk about is really cool. I don't know if you saw this news on CBS or in so many other places where Google went ahead and sued a network for creating well over 10,000 spam listings.
That was amazing. And considering who else is in my family, well, they were probably shocked that I did this, but I've actually read the lawsuit. And
Same here.
I don't know that I mean, there's no way it couldn't have been put out, but there's a lot of information in there that I don't know that normally I would have wanted out there. But it's really, it tells you why Google now is really pushing video verifications and why they're constantly coming up with things like your location must be set to on. We don't see signage. Show us this, show us that, because some of the things that they were doing that were faking worked. Obviously they
Sure.
worked. And it's just,
Like, did you
It,
see
it
those
really sucks for other
pictures?
businesses. It does.
Did you see the workbench pictures?
I did. I saw them
And
for how many different businesses they had the same workbench.
yeah, and they're obviously storing these videos, they're storing these photos, they're storing your location information. I mean, we were all under the assumption that no, you upload the video, it's gone forever. Yeah. No, obviously they keep it for this
Yeah,
very
and
reason.
it was really sad because when you look at this and you think that some of them would get verified, and then what was it like, I don't know, several days or a week later, all of a sudden they would change the title, and then all of a sudden they
Yeah,
would change the website or something else like that. Um, that screws it for everyone else. It's like spammers, I always write down spammers ruin the party. Because if you think about it, if you rebrand, okay, fine. You put in, say, one new thing. Usually you would have to put in a new website URL and a new title. Well, now, based on that, you can't do those at the same time. I
correct.
mean, I certainly would not,
You would get flagged.
because Google needs to verify every little thing. And now, because of these efforts and similar, if you changed more than one of these kind of primary elements, meaning your address, the title, the website, the phone, if you change two of them at the same time or in close proximity, off goes the off goes the trigger.
Yeah.
Off goes and then immediately it's either it could be okay, verify, even if you've just done that, or suspend. And if you suspend, then you've got to get all that paperwork together, and it's just really frustrating. So again, spammers ruin the party. Video verification was frustrating enough, but now you also have to be very careful when you rebrand, all because of that.
And I don't think you were around during this time when the PI space was flooded with hundreds of thousands of profiles.
No, and I'm glad because I do work in that space now.
So back in that day, basically there were a couple different techniques that were going around to make fake profiles. One of those techniques was to use Twilio and an automation program to swap in phone numbers into a profile within milliseconds. So you'd swap in a number. If you got text verification, great. If you didn't, it pop in another one and another one, another one. This is why that phone number field is so sensitive and why it's also banned, basically, in quote unquote, not really banned, but close to it in India, is because of all the abuse. Then yes, they were able to fake location services. So that was another spam signal. And then, of course, and then you had the lead generators who were doing exactly this type of activity. And this was back then too. And so where they would create a fake profile and then they would slowly change the information over time. We saw this. And yeah, I mean, you're right. It's like the spammers ruin it for everybody. But you know what? While their techniques last, these guys are making millions of dollars per day.
Yeah, there is that as well. And it's just like we can't put in now tracking numbers. You have to
Right.
put in a local number and then you have to, work with that. And it's like totally separate from this. Whenever you pick up, say, a cup at McDonald's, right? You get a hot cup and it has this whole warning thing on it. Or, if you get something else that has, where I'm going with this, that has all this text on it. The first thing I always turn to my husband and I'm like, the lawyers have been here
Yep.
because somebody has done something and the lawyers said, you've got to warn against this, you've got to warn against that. And it's the same sort of thing. People, sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes they suffer, an injury and that's fine. But sometimes it's just, these things are just, they were unnecessary. They did them. In your case, you're saying, they make millions off them. And then everybody else from then on has to do something more. And it's frustrating. It's really frustrating.
Yep.
I have somebody right now who's going through a lot because he had new listing created for him because of some other issues. And he started adding photos. I said, don't do that because you need to let it sit when you have a new listing. And immediately it got in need of verification and then it was suspended. But it's the same thing. And this is something for people to remember. When you have a new listing, whether this has just been verified initially or you had to re-verify it, don't touch anything. Let it sit for a week or two, okay? Because if you change it real quick, one of the things that Google thinks is that somebody just did this and shouldn't have, and they were a hacker, and they're going in and they're making all these changes. Again, going back to rebranding. You can't do everything all at once because it will hit that hacker trigger. So
Exactly.
you have to be careful as you go, or you're going to just kind of shoot yourself in the foot.
Which people do all the time. I
I
mean,
have stories, and I'm sure you do too.
yeah, I mean, it's like I was talking to a client yesterday. I mean, this is totally aside, but it's kind of spam, I guess. I was a new client yesterday. We're running through, and we're just like, I was like, I don't actually think you're going to be able to get reinstated. I'm sorry. He's like, why? Well, let's take a look at the story as I'm reading it right now. You had two locations. You wanted the one that was at this location to be over in this location. So instead of doing the right thing, which would have been permanently closing the one location that had the 3 reviews and then moving the one with the 300 reviews, instead you decided to change both of their addresses and flip-flop them. I said, and on top of that, you have 20 profiles at contractors' homes,
Oh.
and they've all been suspended. I was like, you will be lucky to get one back. But again, this is something this is it's a popular technique for spammers, but sometimes people do not understand that just because they see what other people are doing, that it's actually not okay to do. So
it's hard because you do want to that in somewhere Michael says that there should be a stupidity clause. Yeah,
there should be.
I gotta say, something else that I have noticed in these, and I don't know if you and Greg have discussed this, is Google, when you're submitting for reinstatements, of which I've been doing quite a lot lately, people are finding me. It's kind of cool. Yes, I don't advertise. It just happens. But one of the things I've noticed that people still don't understand is that Google, and I know you at Steady Demand, you have your processes. And so this may come up in there, but people don't understand that Google doesn't usually consider context. So at the first 2 steps of submitting an appeal, my opinion is it's quick and dirty. Google goes, do they have paperwork? Is it enough paperwork, as opposed to what Google already knows about them? And then they make a decision. I've seen people.
It's a little bit deeper than that.
It is deeper, but I'm leaving it where it is right now for what we can say. The issue I find is that people will sometimes submit this really long letter, and they will explain everything from where they went to grammar school and high school to what that they were on the phone at the time of creating the listing, and they submitted too early, and they did this and they did that. And I really have to remind them, all they want to see is your paperwork.
Google don't care
right now, and that's it.
Google don't care. They want you to also admit if you've done something wrong.
Yeah,
that's the
problem. Sometimes you may not know, and that's why it's sometimes good to contact somebody else, like a product expert who will look at you and say, it's because of this. But it just gets really frustrating when I talk to people who are like, well, either Google should know this. That's my favorite. Or the other thing, well, I told them that. And you're kind of like,
okay. See, unfortunately,
moving on. Let me see your paperwork.
And unfortunately, we hear this all the time, especially when Google denies. They go, but we couldn't be more legit.
Yep.
Because of the one piece that you're not
talking
about. Well, no, because of the piece of one piece, you could submit all the right documents you want in the world. But the fact of the matter is Google does have a set of internal tools that checks a lot of other stuff. Your user trust score, the profile trust score, it looks for licensing, it looks to make sure the information that you are providing is actually accurate or not. There are certain circumstances where they will not look at your evidence. Sorry, I can't get into that one. But there are. And
totally
so
agree. Totally agree, because I think I told you or somebody else we know posted about this recently. And they mentioned me that I had gotten one back very quickly, so the log jam must be breaking. And I didn't say anything to them. I just left it because I knew that the reason mine came back in like 4 days, think that had nothing to do with me or
Right.
what he submitted. I think it was truly based on what Google already knew about the business. And if anything, what we submitted backed that up. So when you talk about other resources that Google has, I don't talk about that with people, but I do know they exist, and
Yeah.
people here should be aware of that as well.
And actually, I talk about it all the time because the reason is, well, because of the stupid amount of volume that we do for reinstatements, number one. And number two, because of course, also the high number of rejections that we get, right? Just in general. And so I actually like to predicate it to people. It's like, look, you may get declined. We get it. You're a wonderful human being. You're a great father, whatever it is, right? You have a great business with 20 billion 5-star reviews. You're awesome. However, there's something going on in the background that nobody can see. And there's nothing you can do about that. No amount of evidence, no amount of proof. You could walk up to the Google offices with your stack of paperwork. They wouldn't let you in, but it still wouldn't get you back on Google. Even if you were best friends with Sergey or whoever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. So anyway, yes, I'm glad they took down 10,000 spammers, you know?
And they're getting
So,
them. They got a lawsuit going, and it's a very well-reasoned one, which made me think that they've got
oh,
some
yeah.
attorneys working on that who really understood what the process is, what the process should not be, what Google looks for. And I thought it was a very, very well documented
Yeah.
paperwork. And I expect that it's not going to go well for the spammer.
Oh no, they're toast.
They're
And Google
toast.
only does this from high profile cases, obviously. So, but there's a lot of low profile cases that are going on all the time. So, the good news is, I'm sure you all want to probably know about this, so I'm just going to put it out there, and that is that for suspensions, the clouds are starting to part. Look at this. So if you've been dealing with Google Business Profiles, GMB, for more than 5-6 years, you see the pattern. This happens sometime about once a year almost, especially in the beginning of the year, and we'll get this kind of suspension apocalypse, basically. Where a bunch of people get suspended, and then all of a sudden the backlog is amazing. By the way, the two are not connected. But regardless, and it's months and months and months, and there are people going out of business, which really actually sucks. Side note, I deal with thousands of businesses every single year that have gotten suspended and have been down for anywhere from a month to sometimes a couple months. Educate your clients to run a better business. They should be hoarding a lot more money, at least 3 to 6 months of operation capital, in case something like this occurs. It's just good business in general, really is what it is. But when I hear somebody saying, oh, if I'm down for 30 days, I'm letting people go, or selling trucks or selling locations or whatever the case may be, I got to scratch my head and go,
Well,
Business 101, it's calling.
What I also advise, but not in the heat of the moment, you shouldn't be pulling in 90% of your leads from one channel.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not a marketing guru by any means, and I don't pretend to be. But what I clearly say is,
I play one on television.
Really bad if you're depending on such a system that like Google that is so inconsistent. Yes, they are very helpful. Yes, they're they're amazing for bringing in leads. But if that's the only channel you have, that's, again, what you're saying, that's bad leadership. That's bad business ownership. You need to be using either social media, local sponsorships,
billboards, radio,
anywhere,
flyers, driving your truck if you're a
newspaper,
service
if anybody
business.
still reads them. Yeah,
newspaper.
You can't get, when people come to me and say, I'm getting 90% of my leads, I just kind of want to shrivel and go, that's really scary, because I know how inconsistent and fragile the Google listings can be.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind. That's
Yeah,
really
and
scary.
as Mark just put it, he says, "Don't build your house on somebody else's beach." Exactly, because you know what? It's my beach, and it closes at 8 p.m. You're not allowed on it.
Or like in New Jersey, I'm going to charge you every time you walk onto the sand during the
Oh,
summer.
yes, yes, yes. Oh, that's 1 foot off the boardwalk. All right.
Hey, side note, don't worry. They've done their yearly bill in the state Senate for they want us to be able to pump our own gas. And
Oh,
from what I read on Reddit, it's going to go down again like a lead balloon because people in New Jersey do not want to get out of their cars to pump gas.
oh God. You know what? I mean,
We're the only state in the entire country that does not legally
yeah.
allow you to pump your own gas.
I was going back there to visit my family, and I got out of the car, and I'm like, they're
Get
like, "No,
back
you
in.
can't pump your own gas." I'm like,
Nope.
"Fudge, really? I forgot all about that, Jerseyans." Yeah,
It's
exactly,
great.
Stephen.
Our prices are not lower. I mean, they're a little lower, but usually not lower. But, my attitude is nothing's going to change much. So why change it? Originally, I thought it was stupid that we couldn't. Now I'm like, I just don't get out of my car. I just, I say, like, 20 unleaded or 20 regular. Here's the bill, or
I
here's
would
my
feel
card.
so. I would. I'm sorry. I would feel so weird. Even though I grew up in that place, it's like that. Yeah. Anyway.
I've never lived in a place where I had to pump my own gas. I moved from New York City down to the shore. I've never pumped my own gas. I mean, I have in other states. I'm just saying.
You're just privileged. That's all there is
I
to it.
live in a bubble. I live
You're
in
just
Mayberry. What can I say?
you're privileged. All right, cool. So yes. So anyway, the takeaway there is everybody is the clouds are starting to part. Where it's a couple people are starting to see reinstatements come back a little bit faster. Yesterday, I think I had like over 13 come back in the morning or something like that.
Nice.
It was like,
Nice.
yeah, I woke up to it. I'm like, I'm like, ah, yay, So, so anyway, so there is
Yeah.
hope, but don't get hope too much. It's going to be a little bit longer. Yeah.
I want to just mention something. Like you said, you're starting to see that. One thing I am seeing, and this is anecdotal, but I'm definitely seeing it. In the past week, I think I must have dealt with it 5, maybe more posts where the listings had been deleted. One of them, I think the person did accidentally, and all the others were listings that had been disappeared. And when I say that, I mean it intentionally, had been disappeared.
Yeah,
So just keep an eye out on your listings.
I think the takeaway there is that it's don't keep an eye on your listings. It's keep an eye on who's on your listings. Because anybody who is an owner can basically nuke your listing very easy. It takes 3 clicks to do it. And the messaging that Google gives you on these 3 clicks is not very, very good. I mean, they should put up a big old warning stop sign or something, but they don't. And so I remember this from like a year or so ago. We had a lot of people complaining about profiles going missing. And it was after they introduced that language of remove this profile, basically, of course. But at first we thought it was a bug, and we submitted a bunch of cases. And the trust and safety team came back and said, nope, 99% are being removed by users.
Wow.
And they do not record, at least publicly, who that user is that actually removed it. And they will not tell you who removed it either, by the way. And the only one who can get it back is the one who removed it. That still stands to this day, by the way.
So how do we protect ourselves? Make sure you know who's on there. Make sure that unless you trust them with your life, do not make them anything other than a manager. Do not do not have just one user on there. It should always be maybe the owner, the somebody who's the highest up should be the primary owner. Then if you need people, staff to do things for you, you make them the manager. And then you should have at least a couple other email users on there.
Yeah.
Because
and
they're
also,
not even telling me that anymore, Ben. They're not even saying, well, it was deleted. All they're saying is this is what we need to get it back, to find it. Then they will, it's a case by case. But
yeah. The other thing is, got to mention this. It's too often that I see when I'm looking at users, especially on suspended profiles, where I'll see these users and I'll say to the owner, "Who's this?" They go, "Oh, that's a marketing agency from like 3 years ago." You left yourself vulnerable for 3 years? Wow.
And sometimes they will even say, well, that's somebody who worked for me, but she's gone now. Or they will say, well, the person who created it was my whatever, and they're gone now. How do I get to claim the listing? They're not getting back to me. And you just kind of
Yeah.
like, you've got to protect yourself, kids. That doesn't
Yes.
work. Google doesn't take, remember I said, and Ben agreed, they don't understand context.
Right.
If
Exactly.
somebody else controls it, you have to be able to, do what you need to do. But
Yep.
log in there every now and then. Look at people and access. Make sure you know who is in charge. Make sure you retain ownership. If you're with an agency, do you need more than manager? I mean, when I need
Technically,
access, I
yes.
tell people, well, that's it. It
Actually, yes.
depends.
Agencies, you do because there's certain activities that you can only do as an owner. So, but the takeaway is that when you fire your agency, like a lot of lawyers do on a yearly basis, right? Move to, they play the hop sketch game. You know what I mean? Like, oh, maybe the grass is a little bit greener over here. Nope. See you in a year. Anyway,
Yep.
but when you do that, remove access for now. You can always add it back. Always. Just remove it, please. All right, moving on. So we talked about that for a little bit long, didn't we? All right. Okay. So the title of this question slash information, whatever you want to call it, is Google Business Profile Verification still sucks, but at least we get notices. Are you getting the notices, Amy?
I am not, but I've seen them. I have seen them coming through, which is really good, where they will alert people to haven't, need to see signage. We didn't see enough signage. We didn't have get what the other one is, street signs. I've also been alerted to that. What have you
Yep.
seen?
Well, I mean, I can just go take a look at a couple right here. All right, so let's take a look. Verification failed. Let's just take a look at the recent one. You didn't show that you're authorized to represent this business. Unlock the entrance, operate cash register, or enter staff only areas. It's pretty freaking clear what they want. You know, um, business name not shown on storefront. Show your business name printed on permanent fixtures such as signboard, wall, or window.
Your address shows, permanent signage must show, and you must show it in the video.
This is black and white. This is not gray. This is not, you might want to do this. This is like, look, dude, you messed up. Okay, go do it again. And by the way, show that you can get into an employee only area. Boom. Come on.
Oh, look, here is, I always tell people, show your hand opening the space with either a key or a code. And they're like, why do I have to do that? And I said, just do it. Google wants to see that. They want to see the signage. They want to see you opening the door. They want, as you said, depending on the space, they want to see you go into the employees only areas. And again, with the spammers, the spammers who would show this, this very limited little photo of somebody at a workbench.
That was
Spoiled
so
it for
great,
everyone.
though.
Same workbench as the guy, used last week. Oh yeah, that one.
Exactly. So, moral of the story is that yes, video verification does suck. Okay, there are pitfalls. As a matter of fact, Joey and I are going to be talking about this at Local SEO for Good, I think in September or whatever, and which is kind of like how to navigate these types of things. Because video verification is going to run into a couple different issues. Video won't upload, video stuck uploading, video failed, verification goes back into verification mode, which means, yeah, you screwed up. And that's pretty much the buckets. And there's no more ways to verify. That's another bucket, I guess you could say.
I have a question for you for something that I do, and I have yet to hear anybody come back to me on after I suggest this.
Okay.
Stay away from New York City, so East Coast business hours.
So what?
Do not try to upload during East Coast business hours. So
Wow.
9 to 5, 8 to 6. Stay out of those. Most people can do it. The only problem would be if you're on the East Coast, in the winter. But other than that, people have been like, I did that and now it's fine. In terms of uploading.
Interesting.
For some, and I've seen this, I've seen other people, just one or two people say it, but all of a sudden they said some of the PEs who we know have said when they started doing that, people don't come back to them either. So that's something to consider. And maybe the servers are, are on the East Coast. I don't know.
I doubt it, but maybe. Never know. Anything is possible, Amy. All right. Let's keep going here. All right.
Goodness bless.
Woo, excuse me. All right. So
a little dusty down in Arizona right now.
I'm just saying. I really don't know what to think about this. So I'm going to put it out there. Thank you, Mark. So Sterling Sky did a case study, singular, on adding your address to your website footer increased ranking. I'm going to call on the rest of y'all. Try it. See what your results are. Coming back in 2 weeks and let me know. And then we'll talk about it, actually. And we will publish the result. Why not? If we can, maybe. At least on Twitter.
And I tell you, when I use that, when I advise it, I advise it during the verification process.
Oh, same here.
That it's on the footer and on the contact us page. If they can't, for whatever reason, if they feel that they don't want to put in the street address, I tell them to, but if they don't want to, that's fine. But at least have the city, the state or province, and the postal code. And after that, I'm like, once it's verified, leave it for a few weeks. You want to get rid of it, get rid of it. But I do feel that consistency, especially when I don't know, but I think Google for verification starts at the website. You can't lose.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. But still, it's like, because it wasn't present before and now it's present, it gave you a ranking bump. I'm kind of skeptical.
I'd like to see it. I want to see the research.
It's like, I would rather see a lot more people try it and hear it worked. Really? Okay. So what was your method? Okay. All right. That's a good method. But I'm skeptical. So if you've tried it, please come back and let us know, or hop on the Facebook Local Marketing Institute Connect and let us know there. Twitter, nah, who cares? Blue Sky, you can tell us there too. All right. Oh, I mean X. No, I don't.
I will tell you honestly, I still have an account on there, and I just noticed that people do message me, and I feel bad because I don't go on to it anymore. No, it's everybody migrated. Everybody who I know who's in wonderful and local SEO has moved to Blue Sky. So between Blue Sky and LinkedIn, that's where a lot of people contact me with questions, and I'm fine with that.
Yep, exactly. All right. So let's see. So next thing is that Barry has reported that they're starting to see coupons in the local knowledge panel. So that's kind of freaking cool. We are going to go through a couple questions, and then we're going to go through the live Q&A. Okay. All right. So Amy, this question I believe is going to be for you. But like I said, today's format is reading the question, then one or both of us will answer it. This one, I think, though, is in your wheelhouse. All right. So, can't get spam reviews removed from GBP. Never heard this before, have you? Ever?
Just a bit. Here's the thing. And I don't know if you've been in it, if I have had this conversation. I noticed a change starting last September where reviews have not been removed even after the guidelines, like the specific guideline, and I've read the guidelines like a lot. Mm-hmm. Even when those have been referenced, I have gone to so many, I mean, I have literally gone to the point of telling them what a certain term means in North American English. And then I will give them references. That's how bad it's gotten. And
Yep.
yeah, I do not find that they are removing things as well as they used to. I'm finding that things that used to be applied that you could talk about an attack are not necessarily being removed. Attacks,
Mhm.
large scale attacks that you can prove. Yes. And sometimes you have to go, well, I always tell people there's a 4-step process. The first step is you report it either from the tool or the account. Second step is you appeal if it was there in the appeals tool, if it wasn't removed. Then you can report it on the forum, at which there's kind of 2 steps that we can use to get it to Google's attention. And I find the first of those 2 steps to be very helpful. I
Mhm.
find that's probably the best of the 4 steps. But
Every once in a while, you can use the redressal form too.
yeah,
Every once in a while.
I haven't found that very helpful recently. But yeah, spam reviews just they are tough, especially if it's, just remember, you can't get something removed if the only reason that you have is I don't recognize the person's name.
But I don't like it, Amy. It's not
They're mean
fair.
to me. Let me tell you, I have had so many, and it's like, well, it's an ex-employee. Okay, fine. It may be an ex-employee, but the account doesn't have their name on it. They don't reference anything about having worked there, and we can't find proof anyplace else. So
Mhm.
if Google
Exactly.
doesn't recognize, sorry, if merchant doesn't recognize the business name, they will not remove anything. You cannot use that as the only reason. And think about why. It's usually, but not always, a Gmail account, right? I mean, Ben, how many Gmail accounts do you have? I have like 10, and only one of them has on it. So you see where I'm going with this, kids? You have to have something else. If they sit and say that oh, it's a spam because I don't recognize them, you have to do is look at other things. What else did that account do? Did that other account leave a similar review at the same time for another like business in that same category? Sometimes you can cite that. Do they are all of their other reviews in another country? Sometimes you can cite that. There's a whole bunch of things where you would have to go for, if it's just a one spam review, hopeless, awful, horrible. That doesn't break the guidelines. And you can say that it's misrepresentation, that they were never a client, but you don't know that.
Exactly.
And you can't prove it.
Exactly. Exactly. So we're going to go into, thank you, Amy. We're going to go into some live Q&A. We've got about 5 questions. Feel free to add other questions if you would like yours or a competitor's Google business profile. You don't have to tell us which it is. Roasted. Just go ahead and throw it in there. Now, if we know it's yours, we're going to call you out on it. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, let's see, Amy, what we got here. We have a question from Mr. Michael Parker. I have a new client that we built a new website, new domain, and new GBP. By the way, I guess it's all new. Been trying for a month to add the website and keeps not allowing it. Yes, it's a legitimate company in Scottsdale. As a matter of fact, I'm close to Scottsdale. I could go verify this. No, never mind. I'm not going to. doing a trade with our house cleaning service. Oh, that's nice. Michael, you live in Scottsdale? Cool. Is this a timing thing or just wait and try again?
Some of the things that I would think about, look
Mhm.
at how many pages have been indexed on the site,
Okay.
because if it's usually not many, then it's problematic and Google probably doesn't trust it. I would also look for online citations. If
Mhm.
there is no other sign that the business exists. See, when I work on Google listings, one of the first things I always think is the Google listing should be the last step in the path, right? The information that you're posting on the Google listing should always be out there. It should be on the website, whether it's the title or whatever, or the phone number, the address, anything. It should always be out there. So if the website is not being added, Google won't accept it. You have to go out and say, okay, is there something up with it? Is it not fully secure? Is it not fully HTTPS? Are there enough pages that have been indexed and they are the primary pages? I hate to ask this, but is there any malware in the site?
Yeah.
And that's something to consider as well. Do you have anything else, Ben? Those are the ones that
Well, I can tell you the GPP would not be standing if it had malware. So they said new
well,
GPP.
they haven't remember they haven't accepted the URL yet, so
Yeah, it's just the domain is not being accepted. So new website, new domain, new GPP, fine, whatevers. The big thing that you said there was citations. Making sure that all of your citations are up to date. And yeah, that's actually going to be pretty much it, actually, really. The other thing you could do is you could have a workspace account at that email, at that domain name. So, your name at their, name at website.com. And you could also add that. That'll add a little bit more credence. So basically what it really comes down to is that Google just doesn't trust you. It doesn't trust the information. And that's what it is. So you have to fix that first. The other thing is you could also be connected to a service like Yext, etc., that is reverting the information back. If it's happening in the morning at a specific time, that means it's a piece of software. And you have to go to accounts.google.com to go in even further and figure out what needs to be removed. Usually that works.
that's really, really good, Ben. That's really deep. I completely forgotten about that. I did one recently earlier this week, and we're moving slowly, so not to trigger anything. But before anything was touched on this rebrand, it was going into actually updating Yext, updating all the socials, going in and looking further into citations, making sure that the name was not that was fully updated on the site, so there are no remnants of the prior name.
Yep.
All of that was done first, and
Yep.
then we let it sit for a day, and then we changed the first step, and we're not going to change the second step, for a few more days. But yeah, that's the big, really big thing. I had somebody talk about that the other day about getting a listing back from suspension. And they had forgotten to separate out a third-party tool.
Yeah, I mean, you know that the program that we offer, right? The assurance program, which covers suspensions and all that kind of stuff. Citations are so important, I think, to verification and reinstatements and pretty much almost everything that deals with GBP these days. It's not a ranking factor. This is an ease of life factor. Actually, starting April-ish, we're going to be adding citation services for free in that package.
Wow, Ben. Wow.
And you know how expensive citation packages are, right? It started around 120, I think, something like that. And so we included in our program, which is that sub $100 program. So it's kind of cool.
Excellent for small businesses.
It's really important, though. It's extremely important to have. Yeah. I mean, and that's the reason of why we're adding it. I used to be a proponent of citations from a ranking perspective, no longer am. I still think that, doing the citations on the bigger directories is really what matters. However, from a data consistency standpoint, nope. You need something that is going to be constantly out there scrubbing for duplicates and bad information constantly.
And that's the biggest thing. I find the biggest problem that people have that they don't realize is the inconsistencies that are out there. So it's not so much that it's going to help you do well. It's just not good. It's good citations are going to help you not fail. And to me, it's specific when Google is trying to verify something.
Or yeah, exactly.
Not going to help you go up. It's just not going to help you not sink.
Exactly. In a sense, correct. It's going to help. It helps cure a lot of issues and ails is what it is. Like, for instance, you wouldn't have this website issue, potentially, if you're watching your citations. So it's important. All right. So Elizabeth Hubler has a question. Oh, let's see. What steps are available for a suspended listing when appeals have been never heard this question. Been denied twice. No responses coming from Google support forum. Denial was for deceptive content. But the signage and documentation all match. Totally at a loss. Would appreciate any help. I need to say something here. And I think, Amy, I'm starting to actually think that we should just do a webinar, like maybe me, you, Ekans, a couple of us that really focus on the suspension world and start clearing up some myths. Because, and I know where these myths are coming from. They're coming from usually old articles or old webinars, things of that nature. Kind of like what we were saying earlier, Elizabeth. The signage and documentation all match on what's on the listing. That is not the end of the story. That is part of the story. And if you look at that what Google looks at is they look at the entire body of information. So maybe this part of the body is what you got, which is a legit company, right? However, maybe the address is not registered with the United States Postal Service.
Perfect.
They might not have the suite number. They might not even have the actual address. What about an old Secretary of State listing that has improper information? What about a business license, which hasn't been renewed in 5 years? What about a utility bill, which is in the name of the business owner, but it's not in the name of the actual business itself? All of these things are little contributors that can go, I don't believe you are who you are.
And can I point out, just going along, a minor thing that
Sure.
Ben mentioned about the address? I have been seeing since the beginning of the year a lot of people having issues with, and it's the ones that I'm dealing with. They have not used a specific office or suite number. So what you'll find is you will find that you put in the address. Okay, fine. They come up as the only one in that suite number. But if you take the suite number out, you will find a number of other listings that are using that address, none of whom are using a suite number. So you are doing the right thing, but at least one of these cases, I got it back by providing the floor plan. I specifically pointed out where their office is located and the fact that the other listings, oh, look, here they are, do not mention the suite, which gives the impression that they are in the entire building.
Yep. Sometimes you have to point it out to them like they're 5 years old.
They are. And the situation, I have found this so many times, co-working spaces, you can take, and I don't want to go too far afield, you can use a specific space in a co-working space, okay? Mm-hmm. If you have a dedicated space with a door with a suite number, but the things that I always point out with this are, do you have a lease or an agreement with that co-working space owner that has a specific suite number listed? And it cannot be the same one as the co-working space.
As the co-working space.
That Regis is using suite 200, you cannot use suite 200 because you may end up taking down both you and the co-working space. So
I had one yesterday.
The past few months, suite numbers, at least in kind of the ones I've dealt with, have become a big issue.
Yeah, I had one the other day. It was kind of weird. It was a co-working space, and the rule was that they had to use suite 200, and then they would give an assigned number for an executive suite. So it was suite 200, number 325, right? And of course, number 325 was not on any of the documentation whatsoever, Bingo. Right? So it's like, no, add 325 to everything, please. It's like it needs to go on everything. Another thing I can tell you about, things that people don't pay attention to. I'll give you an example, like a real estate agent, right? This works with lawyers too. Real estate agents love to put their middle name on their business card. They really do. They think it's more personal. But then they don't put it anywhere else. It's just on the business card. And so they won't put it in their Google business profile, but it's on their business card. So when they show the proof of the business card, it's got a middle name in it. Doesn't match.
All Google knows is that's different. That's not consistent and it's not different. And that's it. You're done. You're toast.
To that point, look, and y'all can quote me on this, okay? Google support staff for reinstatements and suspensions. They do not know the guidelines. They don't care about the guidelines. What they care about is they click a button in a tool and it says green, pass, red, stop. After that, they look at your documentation because they have to. Green, pass, red, stop. That's it. No gray. No, well, I could be a legitimate. No, you screwed up in your video. This is real too. You screwed up in your video verification, and instead of showing the cross streets, you showed a street. And guess what? It was a wrong street in your video. It was a street. It's still near you, but it's not the street that matches your verification address. So when basically when they see one thing which breaks the process for them, this task list, basically think of it like that, they stop and they hit reject. They hit the red button, and that's it. You get your suspension notice or you get your appeal failed notice. There is no critical thinking that goes behind this, by the way. It's just literally it's pass, go, pass, go, pass, go. But this is also why this story is important. The story about your suspension and your how you got there and what you've done. If you do this in a short, logical act like Spock way, then they do have to read this. And if you make a Bible out of it, they're going to reject you probably on spite. Seriously. So keep it short, keep it simple, keep it to the facts. Explain what you need to explain, especially if it's difficult for a 5-year-old. I hate to say it that way, but it's true. And you'll have a lot more success. Anyway, to answer Elizabeth's question, though, do you want to answer her question?
You answer. I've lost it at this point.
Yeah,
we had such a good conversation here.
I know, right? So deceptive content can mean anything. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Then I'll add, when I've been dealing with deceptive content, I've had much luck. And what I try to do, and this is kind of blanket for everything, but specifically for deceptive content, everything you want to, I almost always find that it has to do with address. So you want to make sure that you submit as much as possible from authoritative sources that contain your address. It has to be the full address, as Ben and I were saying about suite numbers. If you have that designation, it has to be there. If your paperwork is inconsistent, some have the suite number, some don't. No, it has to be. Ben said you're dealing with 5-year-olds, and when we say that, we're not trying to be rude. We're trying to get you the mindset. You have to be exceptionally specific. This is my address that I registered at my Google listing. Here, look, here's the paperwork that's all consistent and shows that address. So in my experience, it's been addressed, and that's how you deal with it.
And it can be, right? Because this whole thing about deceptive content, it's deceptive in its own statement.
It's very broad.
A phone number could be deceptive content. A word that makes a claim which you can't prove in your description can be deceptive content. Having keywords in your name, that's deceptive content. Having an issue with your website, that's deceptive content too, by the way. So it's like, all these little things. It's all literally all the things. So, you do what you can. So that's pretty much related to, absolutely. But to answer your question directly, Elizabeth, because your question actually is what the heck do I do if I've been declined twice? The first part is what Amy and I have both been talking about. Go back through everything. Go take a look. Go take a look at sources which are not your Google business profile as well. Hunt those licenses down. Hunt down the Secretary of State. Do the work. Go to the BBB. Chamber of Commerce. Ask for the business license. Ask for the database for the business license. Things like that. And start looking in those directions. Start looking for malware on the website. Okay? Most people don't look for malware. Go take a look. Take a look at robots.txt blocking a crawler. That's also possible too. So if all of that fails, then what you do is you go to the Google Business Profile community and come and ask a product expert for help. Now, I know you said there's no response coming from the Google support forum ? However, there are a bunch of us good little product experts rolling around out there. We're pretty darn easy to find. Pretty easy. I think don't you have amytoman.com? Actually, Amy?
I do. I don't use it for that. I use Amy the SEO. I use local@amytheseo.com. And you, of course, use, don't you use Steady Demand?
Yeah, I use Steady Demand, of course. Absolutely. I mean, and half of the time somebody reaches out to me, I say, just email me over here. Email me at sales@steadydemand.com. Somebody will get back to you. Because, hey, amazing. That's actually what my company does. But regardless, if it's just a post that is not getting any movement or traction, you put it up on the Google support forum, just go ahead and reach out to one of us. That's our volunteer gig. It's what we do, So
honestly, if you don't want to do that, which sometimes people are like, I don't want to talk to anyone, you can always post again.
Well, yeah,
somebody will pick it up.
Yeah, that's very true.
There's a lot of people on there who answer questions, but what you have to remember is it is our volunteer gig, so not all of the posts are answered. And I'm not trying to blow anybody off by saying that, but there are a lot of posts, and I wouldn't say a handful of us, but there are not enough to answer every single post.
Oh, definitely not. However, I do want to make a statement out here because I've been asked this before, not in a very, very, very long time, but I do want to set it up at least so people understand. It's like when you reach out to somebody like Amy and you're just like, hey, here's a thread. Nobody's answered it. Could you take a look? She'll take a look at it when she can. There is no follow-up. There is no, hey, Amy, what's going on with my case or anything like that. You are not paying for a professional service. Right? You're just using volunteer time, which is okay, by the way. There's nothing wrong with this. But now if you want somebody to look into your case and start analyzing all of your documents, giving you advice, and trying to fix the problem for you, then you're hiring them. That is really what it comes down to. Amy,
I want to just back
post
up
it for
on
everybody.
That.
You got to post that for everybody.
I'm sorry. I thought I did.
That's okay. I'll do it. Yeah.
Okay, please. I saw something on Reddit lately a while ago, and it was interesting. It was discussion where somebody misunderstood something, but they were like, why should I have to pay a product expert for assistance? And the Joy came on with the best answer saying, you don't. Go onto the forum, post on the forum. There you go. You've got a product expert. But if you are hoping to get somebody to walk you through this, and I'm not sure of what they do at Steady, but I assume it's close to what I do, which is to assess the situation, assess the documentation, prepare a case to move forward. And that's not necessarily something that somebody is going to do in a great detail in the short of the forum. So the forum, I love it when I can go on there and somebody's got all their paperwork together, and they just say, and I'm like, that's great. Here we go. But we've been doing this a long time. I mean, I've been doing it for 5 years. Ben, how long have you been doing it?
I don't know, around
more than 5
years. More than 5. Something
we'll
like
start
that.
There. So it is on the one hand, it's going to be something that you're going to put into it if you talk to somebody, but the forum is right there and you can go for it and ask for help. And most folks are really willing to go out of their way to say, look, I need this. I don't need that. Hey, did you notice this? You have to fix this before we can move forward. Yeah.
And by the way, when you do rank a post on the forum, don't write a book. Please don't write a book.
And also don't mention your business name. Do not mention your business name. Put all your information in
until asked
in a folder. Put your information in a folder, Google Drive folder, and then and you can give the details and show your paperwork in there. Because again, it's twofold. One, because those posts are indexed, and two, because as Ben said, How many threads, Ben, have you found where there's like 1,000 screenshots and you can't get to a verb? What are they asking? So
Yeah, I know.
just
Yeah,
cleans it that
exactly.
way.
Remember, act like a Vulcan. Just
Yeah.
saying, act like a Vulcan. I love it when it's one little paragraph with the case ID. I do encourage the business name to be in there. I know what you're talking about, though. And then basically links to the proof or a link to a drive folder. That's all we need. That's it. That's all. That's it. Nothing more.
The more and
All right.
more information that you put into that drive folder, not the post, but into that drive folder, the faster we can help you. I've had threads that have gone on forever because somebody will give me like one piece of information at a time. Keep this in the back of your mind. And also, we've been recently having a problem, and you all may too, is that you have a really long thread. You have to go find something, and it won't open the whole thread. And it's like, so
Yep.
just little inside hints there, things to consider.
Exactly. All right. Give me a second. I have to go through some really quick cleanup work here very fast so I can get people's questions answered later. Looks
Thank
like,
you all for being here. It's I haven't been on here for a while. I think the last time may have, I don't know. I think I remember I was in a different location
yeah, yeah.
and I had like a pink wall behind me and a whole bunch of different things. I think I was a platinum then also. And I'm
Yeah.
like Ben now. I got up to Ben's
You a
level.
diamond.
I am. I'm just
See
like
now
Ben.
they need to add a ruby level next.
You know what? Then yes, then and crowns. We all can show up with like, give us some sort of
Every
like a
once in a while.
mood.
Let's see. No, you didn't get a crown last year, did you? In London? No, that's right. It was somebody else. Yeah, you deserve a crown, Amy.
I would love one. I'm telling you, I would love one. But you know what? There's always maybe this year, but we'll see. But I would
You
love,
never know.
we're going to Dublin. For those of you still watching, hang on with us. We are the Product Expert Summit, and this is another good reason to join the forum if you ever want to join and start helping people. They send us, at least so far in my experience, they send us somewhere every year for a big meeting, and
Yeah.
this year it's in Dublin. So I'm all very excited. I've got my citizenship, but I haven't got I should just work on my passport, but haven't been there in forever. And
You've got Ireland citizenship.
I do. I can.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Why did
Oh
you go
yeah.
dual? Why did you do that? I'm curious
Why did
now.
I do that? Because I could, and B, because it was a program. I won't say when. It was a while ago. Very short period. People were leaving Ireland. They wanted to encourage Americans to come back. So there's a
Okay.
very short period where you could get citizenship not from your grandparent, but from your great grandparent. And it took a
Oh,
few years for me to get it, but I have it. My mother, my uncle, and a couple, but not all of my cousins. And I can now
interesting.
drop it down. I can now give it to my children as well. Not my husband, but my children.
Interesting. Well, right on.
It was also when I was hoping to work in the EU, specifically in England, and well, there goes that. So
Right on. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going to Ireland. London was fun last year.
it was.
That was
It
for
was.
sure.
I want to go
Ireland should
to I want
be.
to go to Guinness. Thank you very much because it's very odd. I'm one of the few women I know who actually just when I sit down at a pub, I'm like, "You have Guinness?" I'm Sam Adams, Guinness. I always get my pint.
Right on. Well, cool. Thank you, Amy, for joining us. We're going to have you more often on here, of course. And looking forward to, of course, seeing you in Dublin. But everybody, thank you so much. That is and we held our entire audience numbers the entire time, and they're still hanging out, by the way. We love you all, just so you know that. As one leaves. Duh. Never
Hopefully, Greg
say
will be
something.
back. Greg is a traveling man. We know that, and hopefully, he will be back with you soon. Back for everybody.
Yep. Hopefully. But everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for coming. Thank you for all the great questions. And thank you for listening to us just ramble on and on and on about Google business profiles and stuff. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you have something that you can take away with this. And we shall see you in 2 weeks. Bye.